The topic of tonight's Mishmar is no Bais Hamikdash, unfortunately. Yet, may we still bring Karbanos? And the answer is yes, but not in a physical form, because we don't have a Bais Hamikdash. But the Gemara tells us, a pasuk Nesheach says, when the Shalma Params Fesenu, that through Tfilis, and another Gemara that says, Kol ha-loimed parshas Eila kihilu ikriv Eila, whoever learns through the halachis of a parsha of Karbanos, HaKadosh Baruch Hu considers as if he brought those Karbanos, and be'er v'yimenu we should be able to bring the physical Karbanos as well. What's connected to Parshas Kisisa is the Torah talks about the Ma'aseh Kteres. And I want to start off with the Tefillah of Enkel Akeno and Pidum Kteres, which is the different manhagim regarding to it and understanding what the halachas are, and like this we can mekayim kilo hekriv hekter kteres properly. So it's very clear that there is no difference between the kteres during the week and on Shabbos. Although minig Ashkenaz is not to say pidum kteres after davening. We're going to discuss the reason for that as follows. But on Shabbos, the minig Ashkenaz is to say it. And halacha, according to the Bais Yosef, is to say it Pitam HaKteres, which is all the which Brisa and Gemara Krisis, which enumerates all the different spices and all the different parts of the Kteres and how it was brought to the Bais Hamikdash. And says the Bais Yosef, this should be said every single day. And comes the Darkei Moshe and says not to say it during the week, and the reason is because the Bryce and the Gemara says if one leaves out, if a Kayan who's bringing the Kteres in the Bais Hamikdash would leave out one of the simanim of the Kteres, one of the 11 spices that go into the Kteres, he is chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. And therefore, says the Darkei Moshe, it's not a good idea to say this during the week, because during the week generally people are busy and running off to work, and people are tired, and we are concerned that a person might mess up and not say all 11 simanim of the Kteres, and thereby doing something which in the Bais Hamikdash was a chiyuv misa. And like we start off this year, if we're going to see many different halachas that it's as if we are literally being makriv this korban, we wouldn't want to do something which in the Bais Hamikdash was a chiyuv misa. Comes the Bais Yosef and says,
according to Darkei Moshe, you just don't say Pitam HaKteres, you don't say the whole concept of Karbanos. It's the minhag olam that people don't say Karbanos. The whole thing because of Darkei Moshe, or he's talking about the
he's talking about the
aspect.
He's talking about the chimisa aspect and the sman, but it happens to be there's other reasons why on Shabbos is more of a reason. Now that you bring it up, it's more of a reason to say the Enkel Akeno, because it's the Paiskim say on Shabbos there's less brachas of Shemana Esrei, so we need more brachas to make it up. So it sounds like there's more than just the actual brisa of Pitam HaKteres. Now says the Bais Yosef, I don't agree to the Darkei Moshe. I do say you should say it every single day. And worst comes to worst, a person will miss one of the samanim. It says the Bais Yosef 3 times. First of all, it's not b'mezid, and second of all, it's only on mira, and it's not a kayan in the being marked to the Kteres. And so who cares? Says the Bais Yosef, because he bases on the Rashi that even a kohen who was makter Kteres without one of the simanim would only be chayiv misa, because one is not allowed to go into the Heichel or into the Kodesh HaKadoshim with pasul Kteres, because then it will be considered as if he has a bia rekanas, as he entered for no reason, because his only had to go in is to bring the Kteres. Says Bais Yosef, he's not bringing the Kteres based on Rashi, it's pasul. But over here, what you're just saying, this manim, there wouldn't be a chiv misa if one of them is missing. Next, the Bais Yosef says that, and also he wants to bring, and also Bais Yosef says that 11 simanim are not so hard. A lot of Sidurim, if you look at them, there's Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dal, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Tel, Yud, Aleph. 11 simanim is not too complicated to get it right. What's a little more complicated is if you take out a Siddur, right after the 11 simanim of the Ma'aseh Teres, there's additional simanim that were brought, which are not 11 that the Gemara darshans from the pasuk in Kisisa that has to be brought as Teres. They were brought just to help out the other simanim, like the Inkafrisen and after 11 there's Beres Kashina, which was 9 kav the Inkafrisen, and Melchus Daimis and Mala Oshan. Says the Bais Yosef, those which are not from the Ikrei Simonic Teres, they're just to help out, to see that the other Teres do the jar properly. There should be the right strength, the right smell. So therefore, says the Bais Yosef, those are not ma'atif. It happens to be that the Tzvari Yisrael Mishnayos wants to, and the Mishnah Malach as well, they ask on this Bais Yosef and from a Taisis Shanim as follows. The Mishnah Yuma says that a couple of families in the Bais Hamikdash are mentioned. A couple families are mentioned l'shvach because they helped out very much in the Bais Hamikdash, and a couple l'ganai because they had some secrets and they were professional. They were professional at the jobs that they did in the Bais Hamikdash, but they didn't want to give out their secrets to anyone else. And one of them is Shal Beis Avtinas, as follows. The Mishnah says, Lo yiratu l'lamed al ma'aseh Keteres. They didn't want to teach others how to make the Keteres properly, and the Gemara explains that they knew how to see that one of the halachos of Keteres is the Gemara darshan from the pasuk, it should be Mala Oshan, and the smoke of the Keteres after the Keteres is poured on the Mizbeach Hazav or in the Lefnei Lefnim, the Keteres should go straight up like a pillar of smoke, and they knew how to put in the Mala Oshan so that it should go up straight as the pillar of smoke, and they didn't want to teach anyone else. And the Gemara says that when they decided it's time to retire, they don't want to do it anymore. In the Bais Hamikdash, they couldn't find any other umnim to take their place and to do it properly. The first ones they called in, the Gemara says, were imanim, craftsmen, professionals from Alexandria, and they tried the Mala Oshan, and it would just go to the side. It wasn't able to go straight up as a pillar of smoke. So says the Bais Yosef, I have a raya that Mala Oshan, which means the added simanim, which are there to help out the other Keteres, and over here Mala Oshan, I have a raya, it's not ma'atif. Why? Because the Gemara says these craftsmen, these professionals from Alexandria, who the Bais Hamikdash hired to take the place of Avtinas, they attempted to do the same thing as Avtinas, and it didn't work. So says the Bais Yosef, there's halacha, which is also, the pasuk says, in Parshas Kisisa, kamayu, a person is usher, it's one of the creases for a person to put together the Simonic Keteres on his own, unless it's being given over, unless it's being brought in the Bais Hamikdash. So how did these there's no trial and error over here. How do these umnim from Alexandria go ahead and attempt and bring their Keteres if they didn't know for sure that it's going to go straight up? Right? If it's not Keteres in the Bais Hamikdash to be makter,
playing with Keteres, you're not doing it to Shema Krava. It's a problem to have Krava outside of it.
Yes. So similarly, that I would say that there's a special siyata shmaya that goes into the Keteres that should be perfect. So if it was just playing around, then it wasn't just like perhaps It wasn't just a chemical reaction.
If they weren't doing it to be makter outside, they weren't doing it as a.
Yes, but they need the full shear and the full simon. They do everything. Like if it's davar shem skavim, maybe that's a different discussion. But so that's the Bais. I have a raya from here. I have a raya that maloshan is not ma'akev in the teres, and says the Taisus Yeshanim. This does not. He's going on the Gemara, and he says he holds very clearly. You'll see from it the way he's mat for this raya. Very clearly, he holds even maloshan is ma'akev because the Taisus Yeshanim says there has to be. They use a different asa for maloshan, and as long as you use a grass which is supposed to serve the purpose of malashon, you're yaitza the mitzvah of malash to bring that grass that causes that the smoke should go up. Even if you didn't find a good quality, you didn't find the proper, it's still a kosher ma'aseh teres. All what Bais Hamikdash did was they found the perfect one. They was able to make the smoke go straight up. But this would answer the Bais Raya, and it seems they bring a raya from the Taisus Yeshanim that even the additives, the Baris Kashina and these other additives to the Ma'aseh to the Keteris, other than the 11 Simanim, would be Ma'akev as well. And I haven't found the Siddur that has a couple Isias there or in bold to make sure that it's said as well. Another halacha which comes up in okay, so we'll get there.
We're all coming.
Huh?
We're all coming.
Yeah. So we'll get there in a minute. There's another shaila as follows. Many emotionals is that during the Pidmak Teres, it's towards the end of davening and there's already sitting, and this is actually brought in the Magen Avraham. The Magen Avraham says that when a person goes ahead and before davening, beginning of davening, what we have in the Siddur of the Amiras Parshas Karbanos, says the Magen Avraham, should be said standing, because the Gemara in Zvachim learns from a pasuk, Lama L'Sharis, when a Kohen did the work in the Bais Hamikdash, he would have to be standing, and says the Magen Avraham. So if a person saying this Karbanos and wants to be Mekayim L'Shalom Parnas V'Seinu as well, he has to be standing. But all the Paiskim, the Shai Tshuva brings down, and the Rabbi, all the Paiskim are chaylik on this halach, and they say Amiras Karbanos doesn't have to be done standing. Shtal Zafar, a Yom Kippur davening with the Aved and Musaf, which is a good to 45 minutes, according to the Magen Avraham, it should come out that it would be necessary to stand. But this comes to the point that Rameir is bringing up. It's clear from the Paiskim that it's not in regard to all halachas do we say that we have to do exactly like a Bais Hamikdash, because we do see that we're not behind and yet we're going ahead and saying these. So my understanding is that Chazal said that as much. Chazal said two things. First of all, we're any mitzvah that we're not shaykh to, every one of us is shaykh to 613 mitzvahs, even though we can't be mekayim it, because when we're learning it, that's malakas of keilu, we're mekayim it, even if we're not a kayin and we're not going into lufnai lufnim, but just learning the halachas gives us, but it's clear that we shouldn't be doing something that if it was done properly if it was really done in the Bais Hamikdash, then you would be Ibi Avera, and that's the reason why the Minig Ashkenaz is not to say the people the Makteres during the week, and the Mishnah Berurah says that when it comes to Shabbos, for those that don't say it during the week, should be more careful that they should say it in the Siddur, because they're not as accustomed as people who say it during the week. There is one halacha. Before that, the Aruch HaShulchan does say that there's more of a reason for a kohen than the kohen over here to be standing, because for him he says it's not more real that even during his Karbanos that he should be standing, but for Yisrael and Levi for us, the Kayanim are our shluchim, so as long as they're doing it properly, we're fine. And there is one halacha with...
say it at all.
What?
It's just like the Kayanim were
Because that brings us to the next halacha. Besides for Amiris Karbanos and Pivdon Keteris, the Gemara Brachos tells us that Shachas Mincha and Meir were established and instituted by Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, our Avos, and Anshe Knesset Agdela came along and were Asmachinu our Karbanos and put the Chiyuv and the Gedarim and the guidelines of when Tefillah should be said and how Tefillah should be said, Keneged the Karbanos, Shachas Keneged the Tamash Baker, and Mincha Keneged Tamash Ben Abayim, and the Meir Keneged corresponding to the Murim, the insides that used to be Makriv at night. And if you look at Shulchan Aruch, I think it's Siman Tzadi Daled or Tzadi Ches, the Shulchan Aruch says that Shemana Esrei has to be said Ba'amida. Dumya, similar to a Karban, like we said earlier, that Karbanos were only kosher if the Kaim was standing. And what's unique about the Shemana Esrei, says the Mechaber, and this halacha that you have to be doing to Bais Hamikdash and to be standing while one down the Shemana Esrei, says the Mechaber, is Leikuva as well. And if a person, says the Magen Avram, and if a person is for no special reason, went ahead and sat during his Shemana Esrei, says the Magen Avram, that one should daven Shemana Esrei again. Comes the Mishnah Berurah and says there are Rishonim that are chelek on this psak of Mechaber, and therefore, unless a person knows for certain that he could have proper kavanah, we never tell a person to daven Shemana Esrei again. And says the Magen Avram, that says in Mishnah Berurah, that's where it comes from. That if someone's a chayla, if someone is hayach l'derech and is going to be out on the derech the whole way, the whole zman tefillah, that's where it comes from that he has a heter to sit, because there are, and when he comes back he would not have to repeat Shemana Esrei, because there are Rishonim that are chaylik and hold that it's not ma'akev b'diavad.
The Rishonim say that it's not ma'akev b'diavad, or that you don't have to go back because you might not have kavanah.
No, not having kavanah is something which is contemporary, which is yeah.
Okay.
What I don't understand, and Ramesha and Ramesha, both Ramesha from Zalman, they talk about going on an airplane. If someone's davening on an airplane, and they say it falls into the category of the Eved, that a person is allowed to sit during davening, and he would not have to repeat Shemana Esrei. But what's important to know, and my Chavis Asher was married last time I went on a plane, is that a person, it's a good eitzah to be shayil by a chaf, to ask a Rav if perhaps that person should be davening maybe before nates, before on the plane, so he should be able to daven standing, or maybe even when he comes. And even when he gets off the plane, maybe it's better that he should l'chatchila daven then, even though it's not 8 o'clock, it's not 9 o'clock, but as long as you have those zman tefillah, maybe that would be better for a person to be daven, to mekayim this psak of Shulchan Aruch, that to be daven b'amida. What I don't understand is that what is the difference between Shemana Esrei, that kamat all the Rishonim paskin that a person needs to daven b'amida, and that's even ma'akev, but when it comes to Amiris Karbanos, it seems that the Magen Avram is the only das yachad that says it should be done b'amida. And
it depends on which Karbanos you say. For example, this for the Soida, right? Let's say our Pesach, you're not going to say that, right? Because they bring that to Bais Hamikdash. But the Karbanos you say in the Yisum Chayman, right? The Soida, still do say that. So it depends which Karbanos are for which part.
And that's where the Magen Avram and the Shar Tshuva have. That's where the machlekes is, whether or not it should be done.
And according to the Mechaber, I think you do say the Mizvah side that we even there Pesach, right?
It could be. That reminds me to another. There's a machlekes and Mechaber Ramah when it comes to Tisha B'Av, if or Bais Avel, if Pita Makter should be said, and the Mishnah explains it's L'Shitasam what they hold about during weekday. Because if a person says it every day, so then it becomes part of davening, and it can be said, even though it's actually learning, but it can be said on Tisha B'Av as well. But when it comes to, according to the Ramah, being that it's not said during the week, so it's not kavua, part of Seder Tefillah, so it won't be said. Okay, yeah,